Well, I wish I could give you the tea, but mine's just a little bit tart, and that's why it's called Leah's Lemonade. And I'm excited today because we have some really talented, amazing folk with us to talk about a project that I think the people are going to love to see. We got the one and only Flo Rida and then Erik Hicks. You know, he's smooth. Some of y'all might know him as that, but we're going by Erik today. Welcome to the Lemonade Stand, y'all.
Hey, thanks for having us.
And Mary just hit me, Leah. She said nobody's letting her in. She's trying to, they said nobody's letting her in.
Oh, there she is. I see her now.
Okay.
And we got Miri Ben-Ari. Hi.
Hey.
Hi, everyone.
Hey. All right, man.
How's everybody doing?
We got the fam in the building.
We blessed.
You popped in just at the right time because we're just getting started. And of course, we have to talk about this magical piece that y'all put together, Symphony of Brotherhood Rise. We got to talk about this. How did this come about? You know, Mary, I know you kind of had the beginning stages of it, but, you know, whoever wants to start first, just tell me how this came together.
So this song has been through some evolution over the years. It's a song that the instrumental version I wrote after visiting the Atlanta MLK Museum. And now you got to understand, I am from Israel. I was born and raised in Israel. And my family is, my grandparents survived the Jewish Holocaust, where their entire family almost got shot into a hole in the ground in Poland by the Nazis. So I grew up into this racism and trying to figure it out as a child, like how do you even deal with that? And so when I visited the museum, I was touched so deeply that I just had to express myself. And being the musician that I am, I went back in the studio. I wrote this song. I produced it with my brother Ohad, and then we put it out as an instrumental song featuring Dr. Martin Luther King. And we perform. I performed this song around the world at the United Nations. I performed it at the White House. It was a special request by First Lady Michelle Obama. And I've been so privileged to perform this song. And I was very hesitant all these years from creating the full version. And even though I collaborated with so many artists, like the best of the best, like Kanye West and Jay-Z and Alicia Keys and John Legend, I did not know as a producer how to create a full version while not only keeping the integrity of the song, but raising the vibes. And it wasn't up until this year when I met Erik and Flo, Flo, when the universe sent this amazing, extraordinary people, musician, artists to me, to create the complete version, which is Symphony of Brotherhood Rise.
Yeah, and then I'm gonna jump to you, Erik, because same as Mary, you've worked with, legendary folk. So your ear and your training to kind of create something like this. Talk to me about your process and your hand in this project and how you kind of collided these two forces together.
Yeah. Well, Leah, like you're right. I working with my favorite singer of all time, Aretha Franklin, twice.
Mm-hmm.
And my mom was born in Detroit, and Dr. King gave me the ability to dream, and that was his favorite singer, her and Miss Mahalia Jackson. So you can't even make this up. Mm-hmm. So as a kid in the Sunnydale Projects, which is the second largest housing projects in California, 50 acres, that's what kept me alive, was the dream. And when I found out that Dr. King had the same favorite artist, then I was like, as a kid, I want to produce, I want to write. I just anything, sing in church, whatever, anything. Mm-hmm. So this right here is a dream, a manifestation of the dream that we transfer into action. And that's how God works when you keep him first. And so this is like unbelievable, because I had in 1998, we had Living the Dream, we had at MCA Records a tribute, which had Miss Aretha Franklin, Miss Patti LaBelle, Mary J. Blige, and I could just go Kirk Franklin and on and on and on. Shaquille O'Neal was on, yeah, it was crazy. And then he had 4 or 5 different speeches, but nobody had a song with him. And I noticed that nobody had a song like, but they had the excerpts, you know, in between each of the songs of multiple speeches that he had. So when Miri said, I want you to write a hook and sing and put a choir on there and me, you know, I was like, no. I mean, I didn't feel like I don't want to do that. The song is a classic. You know what I mean, Leah? Like, who want to go in there and start trying to mess something up? You know? And
Right.
since I already had that experience, it wasn't like I'm not gonna jump on those. So if I'm not sincere, but she was so adamant about me writing this hook and saying, she said, give me a choir, stack those harmonies up, you know?
Yeah.
That's what I did. And then I sent it to Flo because I told Miri, I said, Miri, we missing something. We missing that other, we missing that other piece of this anointing. So nobody would have wanted to jump on a record with Dr. King, right? But I said, we need somebody who's anointed. And Flo grew up just like me in the church and anointed. And he got 7 sisters and they gospel, you know, and they sing gospel. And that's how his roots, that's how they was raised. So I knew he was going to put the anointing on it. And then got it back, sent it to Mary, and she's in tears. You know what I mean? She's in tears.
Oh my God, I got so emotional. Oh my God.
I'll let Flo like tell you about how his process was, but that was my process. I just went into the studio and I just told the engineer, press record. I didn't plan. I just sang. I just started to sing. You know.
I mean, I'm fortunate and thankful for God's timing.
Amen.
And blessed to be a blessing to others. And my time is, I'm a lot of times I'm very busy, but when I got the call about this, I put everything aside for it because I know, it's all about purpose. And then you talking about someone that if he hadn't paved the way, along with others, but this record in particular, I wouldn't have none of us would have the chance to even do something like this. So it's just amazing that I've recorded so many records, but this means more to me than any record I've ever recorded. It's like I'm in lost for words to what I could say of this, and then just to see the outcome and have individuals such as Miri and Erik just as passionate as myself. This is like heaven sent, just to see you listen to this record myself, and I listened to it and just the chemistry, just that feeling that you get. Like I've grown up in the church, I've listened to choirs and different ones, but when this record come on from top to end, I don't even want it to end. It's just the feeling. I mean, the other day, like I didn't even know my mother heard the record. She got the record. She was like, son, I was in tears. And I know how many times I would play things for her. And, I would expect to hear something and she'll be like, okay, try harder. Or this, that, and the third, wow. Just a mother's tough love. But with this and everyone that hears this record, it's the same reaction. And, let alone myself, just, not taking this for granted and knowing that, in times like this, we need something like this. And this can be an inspiration to those to know that, just having faith and, choosing to do positive things versus negative things, we could change the world for a better place, and stand for what Martin Luther King Jr. stood for.
Yeah, and I mean, what a perfect time as we are close to commemorating his day, his birthday, and his legacy. And listen, I got sent the track before I was told, the whole purpose. So I was like, oh, Flo Rida going gospel, y'all. I didn't. I thought this was the transition. I had no idea, but I love the song. First of all, I love when hip hop is integrated into other realms of music, especially choir. When I think of like classic songs like Mariah Carey is one of those artists who can seamlessly kind of throw gospel into a pop or a urban song. And so I really loved the touch about it. You felt the words, you felt the message through the conveyal of gospel. And I think that's, the point of gospel, right? Like everything in that genre is felt. It's not the singing is always the best pitch. It's not the singing is always proper. It's not classic, but it's about the way that the music makes you feel. And I feel like that was what you guys were definitely able to convey in this song. So, Erik, going back to kind of the construction of the song and when you all were making it, I know you said you kind of went in and just kind of let it be, but talk to me a little bit more about that process, because again, you said you sent it to Flo. At any point when you were making it, did it just go, oh, this is for Flo, or were you just making it and it kind of felt that way after everything was constructed?
No, so when I was a fan of the track originally with Miri, you know, who performed this at the White House and the UN, you know. So I'm like, well, I don't know, you know, like,
right.
You know, like, wow, I mean, you know, the first lady personally reached out to you know, to her for this.
Right.
And I'm like, you know, she's such a phenomenal talent and prodigy that I almost felt like, I don't know, let's just leave it. But then when she said, go and sing, you know, like in the like how we do in the church, that inspired me, you know. And so going in there and being able to, I just started singing Rise, Rise, Rise. And then for the Symphony of Brotherhood, then I started stacking up the harmonies over and over. And then my engineer was like, when is this going to stop? I said, when it sounds like
a full choir.
I said, when it sounds like
heavenly choir.
That's when I stuck, man, you know. And
yeah,
then,
they ran out of channels in Pro Tools. There was no more.
So I just kept on doing it, and then I felt like now I can sing the ad libs. Now I can go in there and catch this Holy Ghost. You know what I mean? And so I knew once that happened, I knew Flo was going to I knew he was going to be like, no, this is what I do, you know? So then I knew that it was I knew exactly what he was going to do without me knowing. And I was just like, wow. I was just completely like blown away. Like, yo, man, you couldn't have said, I don't know. This was amazing. And it really resonated in my spirit because, you know, we grew up in this church, man, you know, and so this is not just a song. And being inspired by dreaming on how to get out of the projects and welfare and food stamps, and got a single mother. So Dr. King became like a surrogate father to me, his words. And so that dream turned into my action, wanting to get out the projects through music and through song. And I noticed that one thing about what music can do is, like, you know, you could be a bunch of people and a bunch of dudes from a hood could be at a party and they didn't shoot up the place. You know what I mean? And I saw that that's how we was getting along sometimes with different, you know, cliques and crews in our city that just didn't like each other, but all wanted to go see the same girls and stuff like that because of whoever the hot DJ was. So music has that ability to touch people. And I hope that this helps to heal people from the trauma that we all going through right now, you know, because as I said, you know, I always say to people, man, we scaring these kids out here, man, with this negativity that's going on out. Don't you care about y'all children and the kids? They are helpless to this. So somebody got to step up and be positive. So this messaging right now, I appreciate Miri so much and her brother so much and Flo so much for inviting me to do something that is in my spirit, you know? So I didn't play with it. That's why all I did was just go in there and just simply sing. No trying to write something down. No trying to figure out I know what to do. You know what I mean? When that anointing comes over me. So, and I knew Flo and Miri already had it. And I'm like, wow, where do y'all get this from out there in Israel? What is this? You know what I mean? Like, Israel, that y'all got it like that, you know? So this collective right here is just so special, man. And this means the world to me as it relates to, I've never been on a record like this before in my life. And I don't think I ever will. Dr. King, man, I felt his presence while I was in that studio. And I know that Miri did too, because there's a story behind how she even got this done. There was a lot of naysayers that said, they're not going to approve this. So you got to understand, Leah, I mean, this was meant to be. So this new iteration is something that in which I wanted to honor it, man, just by knowing that if I'm not going to let the Lord have his way, I do not want to do this, because I'm not going to embarrass myself or, you know, make a mockery of it, because this, you know, without Dr. King, I wouldn't be here, you know, to even have this conversation. So.
Yeah, I love that. And yeah, I was interested to know about that piece too, because obviously the song says featuring Dr. King, which means that it had to be approved, and meaning that his family gave a blessing on it too, which is awesome. And, you know, Miri, you kind of took this concept and redid it. And I really appreciate, you know, the storyline, because I think oftentimes when we talk about Black Lives Matter, when we talk about being an ally, when we talk about supporting Blackness, you know, I think it's interesting that it came from a woman with an Israeli background who was like, I've seen injustices in my own lane and I can recognize the hurt and pain, but I also know that I don't have the capability to portray an experience that is not mine. So
Exactly.
can you take this Black experience and take, you know, the preface of what it was and turn it into something that your people identify with, right? And I can really appreciate that Passover with also acknowledgement of the root of where your inspiration came from. I think that's dope.
You couldn't put it any better. We're actually offline. We're discussing exactly that. You know, we are Symphony of Brotherhood. We're from different parts of the world, different education, different cultures, different religions, and same struggle. Connecting through music, and music is the biggest connector of all. It can unite us, it can touch people, it can change lives, and we are just messengers, almost like vehicles to
Vessels.
vessels. It's the best word. Yeah, and we're just bringing that message with grace and with the timeless words of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. And you know, this is all we can do, and this is why this record is so important. It's not about us, it's about the kids that it's going to touch. It's about kids that have never heard that speech before and are going to be exposed to it for the very first time. And not only kids in America, and you know, every community, international kids. I already get feedbacks from kids in Europe that heard this record, in Israel, like, because I kept sending it to, because I couldn't even believe that it has become to be that. So I sent the record to say, hey, what do you think? And everyone gets so emotional over it. So I know this crosses over the way that it is, and from here it's going to be the universe. It's going to take us through the path that we're supposed to walk through.
Yes.
Yes, absolutely. I love it. No, and I think you guys did an incredible job. And I think, again, it kind of speaks to all of your tenure in the business and what you've all been able to accomplish and kind of a curation of that. Obviously, you all have immense backgrounds in the music industry and all have worked with some incredible people. So I got to ask, aside from this project, what are some of your most memorable musical, like what are the things that you look back on your own lives and are like, I cannot believe I freaking worked with blank, or I freaking performed at blank, or I went and saw or produced this for blank? Like, I need to know each one because all of y'all have crazy backgrounds. Mary, I'll start with you.
Where do I start? My whole career is about frequencies and collaboration with people. I mean, I grew up in Israel playing violin in a small town in Israel. I had a dream of taking that violin and connect with people all over the world through music. And that journey has brought me to collaborate on Jesus Walks with Kanye West. I'm on Alicia Keys' Falling. I am the first violinist ever in history of music to be featured as an artist with credits in music video. I think the very first music video that featured me was Overnight Celebrity, Kanye West and Twista. And it made history, not for me, but for an entire generation that picked up violin after that, and then I kept doing like the violin feature, just a whole approach to musical instrument in different genres that I still don't, part of me cannot believe that it happened, with Armin van Buuren in EDM music, the king of trance music, with Aventura on the song Jose. We did a song together live at Madison Square Garden, featured myself, and lately with Diamond Platinums from Tanzania and Africa. That Africa is a very, very close to where I'm from, so I really do I feel so connected to the continent. They play music that I grew up on. So when I collaborated with Diamond recently on the song Baila, it was just, for me, it was just going home. It was so unique, and so it became the very first African song to feature violinists. But with all that being said, this song that we're releasing is the most important song that I've ever touched and put out to the universe, without even a comparison. So this just gives you an idea of how I personally feel about this collaboration and my amazing family here, Flo and E, that has become a part of this.
Erik, what about you?
Miss Aretha Franklin, working on the Rose is Still a Rose album, which is, again, that was the dream in the projects. I said, I'm gonna work with Miss the Queen of Soul. It was like, you crazy? No, you're not. I did that. I was as a kid, and then Curtis Mayfield. I'm one of the last people to sing an actual duet with him, and on this VH1 special that they did, you know, the documentaries, they played that song at the end, and they didn't even tell me. At the end of the documentary, and then being able to also be a producer on the Grammy nominated record Back to Living Again on Curtis Mayfield's New World Order, which also featured Miss Aretha Franklin. So having that opportunity to do those two, I mean, honestly, I've worked with a lot of cool people, but that particularly, because I talked about it as a kid in the projects, that resonates differently with me. So those two
I love it.
people changed my life. So
yeah.
Well, for myself, actually getting the call, to go on tour with Beyonce, I was like, Beyonce chose me. Like, I mean, it was always a dream of mine to work with her, and I did a tour with, myself and her. We went and did maybe a 30-something city tour in Australia. And then most recently, being a part of something so legendary as being the number 7 most selling hip hop artist of all time, alongside of, the greats, the Tupac, Snoop Dogg, Jay-Z, Drake, Lil Wayne, Nicki Minaj, and, just to see my name number 7, knowing that all the hard work that I put in and, just knowing that I had a lot of people that told me no. And, I'm not a very flamboyant person, at least I think so. And to see that's something that I could leave for my kids. And this all came around the time that, Miri and Eve reached out to me about this record. So I know it was just like a thing where it was just like, God speaking to me saying that, just focus on me. Because when you focus on me, you become a blessing to be a blessing. And I thank God for, letting the world get a chance to see my light shine and be able to, reflect that with something so positive. This is like unbelievable. Like, I say that to, kids out there that, you stay positive, just keep your eye on the prize and most importantly, keep your faith strong. All of us out here are important, regardless if you're a celebrity or not. Somebody's watching you, so be an inspiration.
Yeah, absolutely. And Flo Rida, I want to go back. I got to put a pin in something real quick because we got to talk about your career for a second. One thing that I've always found completely interesting about you, particularly, is obviously you're a rapper, but you popped off in the early 2000s, which was such a critical time for music anyway. I think people are still trying to find a way to emulate the success and the wave and the move of that music. But what I always thought was interesting about you is you were never afraid to dive into other genres, because a lot of your hits, other than Low, would be considered in the pop category. And so I wanted to know about how those conversations went early on in your career when you were a hip hop artist from Florida, a rapper, right? But you're picking up these beats, or you're in the studio with Sia doing Wild Ones or doing these other things. Was there conversation? Because I know back then labels had a lot of conversation and control. Was there ever a moment where it was like, we want you to be more urban? We want you to stop flowing so less, or was it like a free for all? How did that work? I was always interested to know.
Like I promise, it was a free fall. It was like
really,
it was really a I guess what I would have to say, it attributes to the fact that, growing up, I was in a group early on. It was like me and 3 other guys, and they were of different cultures. So that initially was probably just a reflection of what's going on with me now. I'm able to collab with and do certain things because it's not really outside of what I did prior to having the success. You know, I'm a guy who, you know, in Miami, there's a gumbo of different cultures. So that's a reflection of myself too. So it's never too far-fetched for me to do things and be able to adapt. And then, you know, rest in peace, I traveled prior to me getting on. I worked with Fresh Kid Ice of the Two Live Crew. I traveled. Yeah, I was with him. Then I moved out here. I'm in LA, you know, shout out to the West Coast. That's where I'm at right now. I moved out here and worked with Devontae of Jodeci. I was around Jodeci, lived with Devontae for 5 years. So prior to me getting on, I had been, you know, almost, you know, nurtured to do this thing and it be second nature, you know. So, you know, just to give you some insight on that, you know, basically I've been around before, you know, the world got a chance to see me from this standpoint.
Okay, yeah, because I always wondered. It was so interesting to me because at that time, because obviously Love was considered an urban record, right? But I think the song touched the whole world. It had nothing.
Record, let me tell you something. I had no clue about, you know, the international market, like really just on the business side of things. And I'm telling you, man, I would be going forever. I'm talking about going to countries that people have never been. You know, I look back, some of those places, you know, I've been, but it was just some places I haven't been back there yet because it was just like people don't even go there. You get what I'm saying?
Right.
You know, so and they want me to come there, but you know, it's other places I get a chance to go to before I even go there. And at this point, you know, just because of the business, they can't, you know, really, you know, maximize getting me there. But man, I've been some places that, you know, your most famous artists are not known, you know?
Yeah, no, and I
off that record.
For sure. No, and again, your music is so vast and it has so many elements to it, especially throughout the duration of who you've worked with. And, you know, considering that you broke so many digital download records at the time, ringtones, baby, boots with the fur, you was flipping what is it? Your Razor phone and it was ringing low. I mean, what was it like for you at the time? Because that was off your first album, your first project, and it blew. I mean, the success was insane. I mean, what was it like for you? Because I know you were in school, you were in business school, then you dropped out. I know your mama was probably like, what is this boy doing to go for music? So talk to me about the time period from leaving college to then making that first album and then Low blowing up like that. What was that transition like for you?
Well, my mom, she was a big, you know, help and push towards, you know, my career because at the same time, me and her always had this connection where it's like always the loyalty between me and her, the trust between me and her knowing that anything that I do, I put God first, you know, but locally, you know, shout out to DJ Khaled, shout out to Rick Ross, Whole Boy, you know, E-Class, and my brother Lee Prince. You know, we worked very hard to maximize, you know, marketing myself down in Miami. So I was very well known in Miami prior to, you know, me working with Atlantic Record and, you know, getting a distribution deal. But I think just meeting someone like Mike Karen, who's my A&R, even now, you know, he understood, you know, myself. You know, a lot of people, they would hear my music and it was like, man, Flo, he does some weird music, like, because it wasn't straight. I'll be doing some of this, some of that, some of this, and the third.
Right,
you know, and when you hear my demo, but you know, those who know that, you know, even with me in the business, like when I'm working with artists, it makes it even much easier for me to work with artists because I understand that, you know, they're well rounded, you know, and when Low took off. I even got a text today. Someone was telling me, man, I remember when Low took off, that was the time people were standing out their cars, dropping Low. And I'm talking about, I remember just being on phone calls, you know, because I gave them my number back then and people would call me from the car saying they stopped out on the highway because they've heard this record on the radio. And the impact that had, man, it was just nonstop. It was just nonstop. And I lived in the studio and people would, you know, I got some of the the slack of people saying, man, he might be a one-hit wonder, but not knowing that, you know, I lived in the studio just like now. I just left the studio, you know, and I'm here. So I'm a person that's very passionate. And, you know, with the success of what I had with Low, I wanted to continue to let that be a snowball effect. And it's not that hard when this is your life. You know, music is my life. I love how you can cause a positive impact and be a positive influence. And, you know, to God be the glory.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, that song's impact was insane. Like and for clarity, I was in middle school. That was my song when the middle school dance was popping. I'm showing my age, 10-year challenge hashtag, but well, a little over 10, but you know what I mean. And then my other thing, T-Pain makes that song iconic. How did that come out with him, particularly on that song? What was that? Did you hit him up?
I wouldn't talk about it, but I can because he talked about it. I remember, I walked in the studio and I heard this record for the first time. I mean, I had moved from LA, which I was out there for 5 years, and I got the call to come home because people were in the building for Rick Ross. Shout out the whole Poor Boy family, and Mike Karen, my A&R. He heard my demo and wanted me to come to Miami, and I would procrastinate about coming back because I didn't want to leave LA until I became famous. I promised myself that, but my sister and my manager got me to come down. I went down there, and I worked for about 3 months, and my life changed. Just 3 months, day and night. But in that process, I created one record. It was called Birthday, and that blew up in Miami locally very fast. Shout out to DJ Khaled, Ross and everybody who supported that. And then one day I walk in the studio and I hit his beat for Low. Man, I was like, oh my God. And then T-Pain was you couldn't even fathom how hot he was at the time. Right. And then hearing the production side, shout out to DJ Monte, the 808 on that I haven't heard nothing like the 808 that's on Low. You gotta move when you hear that. So this was the fastest I ever recorded a record. I got in, I called some of my guys who were in the group with me at the time. They came to the studio and I was just knocking verses out, one by one. And when they heard it, they was like, this is gonna be huge. This is the #1 record. Like everyone came in, this is the #1 record, and we decided to get it mixed and everything like that. And in that process, got the call. It was like, T-Pain doesn't want to be on the record.
Oh no.
I'm like, what? And then where we from, it's like, oh man, like, it's like, what? So I felt some type of way, but I'm only telling you because he admitted it to me, and I felt very good about it, because I would never tell anybody that story, because I'm more than blessed, more than happy to even have the record, whether he was on it or not. So anyway, when the record, we took him off and proceeded with the record, and the record was going insane. Got a call from his people. They was like, to him, he was like, T-Pain wants to get on the record. I felt some type of way, but I was like, man, T-Pain hot, so the rest is history,
Well, listen, maybe we can see, like it's the 10-year challenge coming around, so maybe we'll be able to, see y'all perform that. Now you got some crazy hits. Obviously, everybody's talking about verses. If Flo Rida is going against anybody in the verses, who you calling out, brother? Who you going against?
You know who I'm calling out.
Who?
Flo versus Rida.
You know what? Okay. Yeah, well, your songs can go tit for tat.
I think, my whole thing is, I don't really know from what I see, the majority of it is people like versing each other, and it's more of a battle and everything. And shout out to, Timbaland and, Swiss Beats, because it's amazing, man, what they're doing, man. They're pioneers. They're guys who, help pave the way. But I really don't. I'm not a fan of seeing myself on there, unless it's a collaborative effort. You know what I mean? To inspire artists. Not to say what's going on doesn't inspire people, but for me, I love to, create my narrative in the sense of what I've been doing.
I feel you. Well, listen, I know there's more great music to come out of all of you all. You all have your own stripes in the game, and you've come together to create an incredible song. So Erik, I'm gonna let you tell everybody where they can get this song, how they can listen to it, and
it drops tomorrow, actually.
Yes.
It drops tomorrow, and we're super excited. This is, like I said before, this song right here is, when you talked about collaborating and doing something, this would be now my all-time.
Yes.
My all-time best and favorite, because of what it actually represents.
Mm-hmm.
I know that, like Flo said, Dr. King knows us now,
Mm-hmm.
And we just wanted to do the family justice, you know what I mean, and to make them proud, and to make sure that we did this from our heart, man, and from our soul. So that's what we did, and I'm just grateful to be here in this kind of company.
Yes.
Absolutely. January 14th is coming out. Really excited. Can y'all all go through, let everybody know your social media, where they can follow you, where they can keep up with you, and stay in touch. Miri, what about you? Social media?
It's Miri Ben-Ari, Miri Ben-Ari, Miri, quite contrary, not Mary. I'm Israeli. I just wanted to thank you for having us, supporting us, to thank everyone at home that is supporting the message and this song. My partners here, Ryan, feel so blessed with this opportunity. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Symphony of Brotherhood Rise.
Yes, absolutely. Erik, social media?
Nah, do you know I've never had social media in my life?
You off the grid? You off the grid?
No, and I'm not off the grid. I've never been on it. You know,
Miri, we gotta make him a page up. Okay.
We gotta get him a cap before.
Taking that thing right down. You know what I'm saying? Let me see.
Well, I guess everybody can catch him when they see him.
Yeah, you could find out my whereabouts and everything. You can go to @official. And you can go to officialflow.com, or you can go to @official_flow. You know, that's my my Instagram. You know, and once again, you know, Leah, thank you for having us, man. This is definitely
thank you so much, Leah.
Honor. Thank you for letting us, you know, be a part of your platform. You know, Miri, love you. Man, this is like one of the greatest things I've ever done. The greatest, you know, musically. You know, and the fact that, you know,
same here, brother.
You know, this is you know, I think about this, you know, prior to me doing this interview, and when I get off the phone, I'm just thinking about this and happy to celebrate tomorrow that the record is coming out.
Me too.
Yeah, this is going to be incredible. I'm excited for everybody to hear. Again, January 14th, make sure you go, you download, you stream, you support Symphony of Brotherhood Rise, coming out on all the streaming platforms. Get it, enjoy it, take it in, and get some peace during this crazy season of life.
Yeah, shout out to Sparta and 300, you know?
Yeah.
I mean,
Sparta 300.
Yeah, you know, hey, thank you all, man. You know,
yes.
Being a part of
this.
Steve and
Amir working this record. Thank you guys. We love
shout
you.
Shout out to my man Ryan, aka doing it with the R.
Yes.
Yeah, man.
Yes, that is Ryan.
Leah, again, thank you so much. Thank you so much. We appreciate you so much, man.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you guys for stopping by too. Again, I appreciate all that you have contributed to the culture because, again, not everybody may know, but I appreciate what it takes to be a part of building the culture. So, I Lemonade Stand. Well, that is it. Grab a cup, throw it back, all of that.
Absolutely.